Hi, Mr. Osborne back again for session 10, our final video of these 10 science sessions. Where do we start? We start with the human circulatory system, and we've made our way all the way through to classification. And today's video is going to be on classifying microorganisms. Okay, I brought some along to show you. Here you go. Well, I'm only joking, because actually to see a microorganism, you'd need a microscope, but microorganisms are all around us, and there are definitely going to be some on my hands. Okay, let's get sharing the screen. Session 10, can't believe we've made it this far. Let's move that up there. Let's go to full screen. Fantastic. Okay, so as ever, and we've done this from number session 1, what will you need today? Well, just a pencil and a paper today. Okay, you need your brains switched on and in gear, and as ever, make some notes as we go along, and then at the end we'll have a bit of a pop quiz about that knowledge and see how you've gotten on through the session. Okay, so let's get our brains into gear then already. Can you rearrange the letters to make the word? Okay, now I've given you, again, some pictorial clues along the bottom, but if you joined in our last session, this should be no problem. Okay, take a couple of minutes, pause the video, then come back and we'll look through this together. Okay, so you're back already. Fantastic. I'm just going to move myself there. Fantastic. Okay, so rearrange the letters to make the word. Now, the first one is nice and easy, I think. Here we go. Flower, Flower. Wonderful. Flower. Next one. Let's have a look. Number 2, plant. Plant. No worries. Number 3. There's a bit of a clue in the picture there for number 3, and that is moss. Okay, number 4 as well, next to moss. Okay, and what did we say? Moss and ferns. In the last session we were discussing about they don't produce seeds, they actually send out spores. Okay, so moss and ferns. And then the last one, okay, that picture there doesn't really help because I'm sure that's an oak tree, but the last one is conifer, and we were talking about conifers do have seeds, but they have them in those little prickly pine cones to keep them safe. Okay, hopefully you're patting yourself on the back and you're happy that you've been able to rearrange those letters to make the words. Okay, let's move on to today's learning. Okay, today we're continuing and we're going to end our quest on describing how things are classified into groups according to common characteristics. Now, don't forget, these are only short sessions, okay? So we can't go into a huge amount of detail. We do go into detail, okay, but we can't go into as much detail as certainly I would like to if we were in class. But hopefully this is just a kickstart into understanding these different key concepts, okay? Today's main focus, we're looking at microorganisms. Again, I'll put some keywords down the bottom there. Classification, okay, bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and viruses, okay, because they're going to be some of the key words that come up in today's session. And as ever, Mr. Osborne is then got another little animation there. Okay, so classification, just in case you didn't join us in the last session, well, classification means to group all similar species together. Okay, there are millions of different species living on our planet, different types of plant, animals, fungi, and bacteria. Okay, I've got double full stop there, that's a mistake. And in order to learn about them, it's necessary for scientists to sort them into groups. Okay, now here we go. The main reason is that when scientists are going to study these things, it will be far easier, okay, looking at a smaller group, okay, than a huge, just one giant group. So biologists classify by looking for similar characteristics in organisms, and then they group them together. Hold on to your seats. Here we go. The Earth spinning around there. Wonderful. Okay, and as we said before, planet Earth is full of life. Now, we've looked at animals, humans, we've looked at plants, and now we're going to delve into looking at microorganisms. Okay, now first of all, what does that word mean? Maybe pause there. sort of made up of two words. That's going to give you a bit of a clue, but have a think about what microorganism might mean, and come back and join me, and let's see if you've got an understanding of what the word microorganism means. Okay, wonderful. You're back already. Shouldn't have taken long. Okay. Well, microorganism, when you break it down, micro is very small, tiny, minute, and organism is living thing. So there is quite simply very small living things, microorganism. Let's go back a bit more detail. So microorganisms are tiny. They're so small they can only be seen by a microscope. Okay, now here's a couple of examples. Yeast is a helpful microorganism which makes bread rise. Bacteria is a microorganism which breaks down plants into nutrients. Okay, so a couple of microorganisms just being spoken about there. Microorganisms are also known as germs. Okay, and I'm sure I don't even need to go into this, but germs can make you feel unwell. Okay, so good hygiene, especially at the moment, is massively important. Okay, and using using soap and hot water to wash our hands after preparing for food, and using the toilet will kill off bacteria. Okay, so microorganism, bacteria. When I was saying earlier, I brought some microorganisms to show you. Okay, and without a doubt, they are on your hands at all times. So making sure good hygiene is followed so you do not get any germs. So okay, there's a huge variety of microorganisms. Okay, they can work alone or in colonies. Okay, so when I'm talking about a colony, I'm talking about there's different varieties working together. So and huge amounts of them. They can help you or hurt you. So as we've already discussed, okay, yeast is a microorganism and it helps to make your bread rise when you're baking. Okay, I'm not sure if any of you have ever baked a loaf of bread, or maybe go and ask your parents or whoever you live with if they've ever baked bread, and the importance of using yeast to make that bread grow. Most importantly, they make up the largest number of living organisms on the planet. Okay, so forget about humans, forget about animals and plants. Okay, there aren't millions, billions, or trillions. There are literally trillions and trillions and trillions of microbes, okay, short for microorganisms, around the earth, maybe more. Okay, that is hard to even comprehend. Trillions of trillions of trillions. Okay, imagine winning the lottery of trillions and trillions. Okay, so there's huge amounts. Okay, so here we go. There are 5 types of microorganisms. Okay, so whereas before we classified our plants into 4 categories, okay, microorganisms are categorized into 5 different types. Okay, so the number is 5 there, the magic number's 5, and they are categorized into 5 different types. So with our plants, we had flowering, we had conifers, we had mosses, and we had ferns. Okay, like that, we're now classifying microorganisms into 5 different types. Okay, now the first one, bacteria, can be a rod-shaped, spiral-shaped, or spherical. Okay, some bacteria can be useful, such as certain types found in the stomach. Okay, my stomach's actually rumbling a little bit. Not had enough to eat today, but other nasty kinds can give you a bad tummy ache or a sore throat. So bacteria is number 1. That's what we are saying there. Viruses are parasites, which mean they can only survive inside the cells of other living things. Okay, now that does sound awful. They can cause infectious diseases such as chickenpox or measles. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever had, I certainly did have chickenpox all over me, and that is a virus. So chickenpox and measles is a virus. So that's 2 of our 5. Okay, fungi can be different sizes ranging from a single cell like yeast used to make bread rise, or other fungi such as molds or toadstools. Now, I'm sure fungi you have probably seen before if you've ever been down to the woods and you've seen, or maybe from Tesco's eating some mushrooms, so that's fungi, okay, and the toadstools there, okay, and then molds. If you've ever, there's nothing worse when you go to get some bread out and then you can see that mold that has grown on it, so that is known as fungi, okay. Algae, algae, sorry, can be also many different sizes. Some single-celled algae are actually used in toothpaste, so there's an interesting fact for you, okay. So the interesting thing about fungi and algae is actually you don't need a microscope to be able to see that microorganism, okay. And then the final one here, protozoa, are single-cell organisms that can cause many diseases, although they are occasionally helpful too. Now we're going to look at these in more detail, but in terms of classification, they are 5 types of living microorganisms: bacteria, viruses, fungi, algae, and protozoa. Okay, so let's have a look at those in more detail. Here we go. Nice illustration of what bacteria might look like there. And the little fact there, did you know that bacteria doubles in number every 20 minutes? Okay, now bacteria lives everywhere. They're on your skin, in the air, everywhere. Okay, some bacteria can be helpful to us. They can make food like cheese and yogurt, help to make medicines, and help us to digest food. So just a minute ago, my tummy is rumbling. Okay, that's my food being digested. But some bacteria are harmful. Uncooked foods, especially meat, can contain bacteria. The bacteria are killed when the food is cooked properly, but if not cooked properly, you can become ill and suffer from severe food poisoning. Okay, it's a bit like you may have heard when adults are cooking on the barbecue, it's essential, you know, that the food is cooked correctly, because that food may have bacteria in it, and if it's not cooked off and killed off, then it's going to give you food poisoning. So that is number 1, bacteria. Okay, so that's our number 1 microorganism, bacteria there. So number 2, viruses. Well, we all know about viruses. Okay, viruses are the smallest type of microbe or microorganism that causes a large number of diseases in plants and animals and humans. Okay, now there's an illustration, a picture of a virus there. Viruses can spread easily and increase in numbers very quickly. Okay, e.g., for example, when you sneeze, okay, and you sneeze and you've not cleaned your hands. Now, don't need to this current climate go into actually how important good hygiene is, but when you're sneezing, coughing, making sure that your hands are cleaned after you have done that. Okay, and then remember, it's hugely important in this current climate. Okay, so let's have a look. So fungi, okay, so yeast and mold. Now, as I was talking about earlier, okay, you may have seen when food starts to decay and it gets this kind of whitish bluish mold appear on it, and there you go, there's sort of an illustration there of somebody's hands. Okay, but also yeast. So yeast is a type of fungi which is used to make the bread rise, and we've already discussed that really. And here we go down here, penicillin, which is an antibiotic, is made from mold, and it fights infections caused by bacteria. So fungi, they're microscopic, so absolutely minute and single celled. Okay, so fungi, mushrooms. I'm not sure if you're a fan of mushrooms, Mr. Osborne's not so keen on mushrooms, but some fungi start from microscopic filaments which grow bigger and bigger until we can see them with our eyes. Okay, they're multicellular, which means they're made up of lots of cells, and they look like plants, but they do not produce their own food. Okay, and there's some mushrooms on a plate there. Algae. Okay, now we talked about algae earlier. Okay, algae is mostly common in water and on the surfaces. Okay, now if you've ever seen a pond where it's been got too much sunlight on it, you can see a sort of film of green algae on top of it. It's not particularly pleasant. Okay, it's very diverse in size and structure. Okay, so like we saw, like we discussed earlier, it's microscopic, but actually, as it doubles in size, it can go up to 60 meters long. And also there I've got a picture of toothpaste as we discuss algae being put into toothpaste and used in toothpaste. Lovely. I think don't let that put you off brushing your teeth. It's very important to brush your teeth. Okay, then, so finally the last one here of our 5, protozoa. Okay, and then the microorganism protozoa speeds up the decomposition. Okay, so you might have sort of your garden waste that microorganism is going to help to speed that to decompose, where it rots down and then it's reused in the garden. Okay, or maybe when an animal dies out in the woods, then that microorganism is there going to be sort of to take over the body and then decompose it. Okay, and that also may cause disease, that microorganism. Right, now I'm just going to quickly go back just to have a look. Here we go. So now you should be really clear. Okay, if not, you might want to stop the video back and rewatch, but these are our 5 types. Okay, so we're classifying these microorganisms into 5 types, and the different types are bacteria, viruses, fungi, algae, and then protozoa. Okay, so I hope you're really clear on that, because you're going to have a pop quiz in a second. But before we give you a pop quiz, I thought it would be quite nice to share. Now, this is quite small, and I apologize for that, but the top 10 facts on microorganisms. Okay, now some of these are actually quite unbelievable, but let's have a look. So microorganisms first appeared on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. Okay, now they're very important in sustaining life on our planet. Okay, microbes or microorganisms generate at least half the oxygen we breathe. Okay, so it just blows my mind to think that these little organisms are all around us. Okay, microbes thrives in extremes: heat, cold, radiation, pressure, acidity, and darkness. Okay, and often where no other life forms could exist, and where nutrients come only from inorganic matter. Okay, so that's unbelievably strong. Okay, typically there are between 10,000 okay and 10 million on each hand. So you have a look at your hands right now and think you could have 20,000 up to 20 million microorganisms on your hand. Okay, the number of germs on your fingertips doubles after you use the toilet. Now, if there is not a statement to make sure you wash your hands after you use the toilet, that is the one. When you cough, germs can travel 3 meters if you do not cover your nose and mouth. Okay, so that one there is hugely important to think. Next time you go to cough or sneeze, how important it is that you're then catching that cough or sneeze in your hand. Otherwise, there's 3 meters away. Someone can be affected by the microorganisms that you've just coughed or sneezed. So, and then obviously after you've done that, you're washing your hands. Okay, almost 1 million bacteria can be created by one person in a school day. Okay, next time you see your teacher at the end of the day, just say, you know, there's a possibility of 1 million bacteria is being created by me today. Okay, there are no bacterial cells in our bodies than there are. Okay, sorry, there are more bacterial cells in our bodies than there are human cells. Wow. While bacteria on the outside of your body can cause serious infections, the bacteria inside your body can protect against it. Studies have shown that animals without gut bacteria are more likely to catch serious infections. Okay, so it's not all bad news about these microorganisms, okay, and bacteria. So the bacteria on the outside, so remember we were discussing earlier about that uncooked meat, okay, which can cause all sorts of troubles, but the bacteria on your inside, so the bacteria in your gut, is there to then help you out. Okay, humans have used bacteria to help us in other ways for thousands of years. Okay, and we've already discussed this. Bacteria are used to make yogurt and cheese, and flavor of these foods comes from bacterial products. I think for me the real standout ones, okay, especially in the current climate, is that number of germs that doubles after use of the toilet, and then when you cough, it can travel 3 meters. Okay, so real there, some serious sort of in those top 10 facts, some key messages about hygiene there. Right. Okay, that's enough of top 10 facts. I think it is time to move on to the quick quiz. Okay, now nothing too strenuous. I know Mr. Osborne's been doing a lot of talking today, so I hope you're still awake. Okay, so microorganisms are blank, fill in the blank, tiny, huge, or massive. We often call something germs, bad things, bacteria and viruses, small creatures. Okay, and what does good bacteria do for humans? Maybe pause the video for 2 minutes. Okay, if you need to go back, have a look, but I'm sure you won't. Okay. Wonderful. So you're back already. So microorganisms are tiny, huge, or massive. Well, from the start, we've discussed microorganisms are tiny. In fact, they're so tiny, they can only be seen under a microscope, unless it's fungi. We often call something germs. Well, we often call bacteria and viruses germs. These can actually make us poorly, but some germs are actually good for us. And what does good bacteria do for humans? Well, good bacteria helps us digest our food. Without good bacteria, humans wouldn't be able to eat. Now, don't stop there, because I'm sure we've got 3 more questions. When bread is made, which microorganism is added to the dough to make it rise? Okay, that's an easy one. Which is used in toothpaste? So which microorganism is used in toothpaste? And how many microorganisms are typically found on a hand? Okay, that was definitely in the top 10 facts. Okay, pause the video there and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so you're back already. So when bread is made, which microorganism is used to the dough to make it rise? Well, yeast is added to the dough to make it rise. Okay, which microorganism is used in toothpaste? Now, I hope this doesn't put anybody off brushing their teeth. Some single-celled algae are actually used in toothpaste. And then finally, how many microorganisms are typically found on a hand? Well, typically there are between 10 and 10 million bacteria on each hand. So you might have 20 million microorganisms on your hands currently. So let's have a quick recap. Well, we have been looking at how to describe living things are classified into groups according to common characteristics. Today's focus was microorganisms. Okay, and we went into real depth of what each of those microorganisms looked like and the impact it had on our health as such. Okay, now this is the last video today, but I would really suggest if you're interested and you want to go into looking at classification, then have a look at the work of Carl Linnaeus. Okay, his classification system, which is known as taxonomy, and how it helps us to determine what an organism is. There's plenty of videos, okay, around the internet, okay, plenty of reading to do. That would really help to cement your learning in classification. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Okay, hopefully I'll see you next time, if there is a next time. I had to finish on that. See you next time. Thanks ever so much. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.